In this episode, I'm going to look at a Harmon Kardon CD491. This is a 3-head, 3-motor stereo cassette deck, Dolby B&C and Dolby HX Pro extension. A pretty good deck, dual capstan, and it's got all the high-end features, fine bias adjustment, you name it, this one's got it. This one's actually one of the units that would definitely be worth putting some money into to repair. So I've been told the symptom on this is that the tape hubs don't turn properly, which could indicate a bad idler in it or a bad belt. And the controls are also very noisy, so we're going to clean those up. So let's get it apart and get working. This one is a 3-motor system. I believe it's a 3-motor. Real motor, capstan motor, and a control motor. So a 3-motor system. It's got these little leaf switches here that ride on these cams to detect what position the mechanism's in. I haven't tested this out yet, so the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to connect it up and we're going to run it through all its paces and see what it is or isn't doing. Okay, so first we'll power the unit on. Little light on here says wait. Okay, we've got noisy controls to start with. Okay, first thing we gotta do is clean that control up. The master fader is noisy. Remove one screw here, loosen the other 6. The bottom cover will slide off to expose the controls. Easy to get at for cleaning. It's actually very well laid out in that respect that you can get at pretty much everything you need to get at this unit without having to take, at least as far as the circuitry goes. I can get at the controls for cleaning, and I can get at the switches. So let's get some contact cleaner in. We'll clean all these controls up and get rid of that noise. There, that control's clean. Okay, so that's cleaned up. Let's just see what it does when I try to play a tape. Okay, let's see if fast forward and rewind works. Fast forward and rewind is not working very well. We have slipping idlers, more likely, on this unit. Let's see whether we can get at this unit easily to clean the idlers. That's what I'm looking for. We can get into that tire right there. So the problem we have on this one is this idler tire here is slipping. That little tire there is worn out. So we need to put some rubber renew on it. My rubber renew seems to be getting kind of low. It's down to about here on the bottle. I don't recall using that much of it. It must be evaporating. Maybe the top wasn't screwed down tightly. Anyway, get some rubber renew on a Q-tip here. And we'll just get the idler tire a little saturated in it. Let it work in. And then we'll operate this thing as if there's a tape in it. Power on to the unit, and I'm just going to close the switch here, and this will turn on the motor wherever we go here. Where are we? It's the switch here? Yeah, that one. And fast forward. Where's forward? There we go. Lots of torque now. Yeah, so much torque I can pretty much stall out the motor. So let's just try this with the tape in it. Rewind. There we go. Play. There'll be stuff on this tape too, I'm sure. Yep. We'll do a recording on this tape. Where is the... I think it's in Dolby mode here. Where's the... It's... what's it in? This was recorded on Ghetto Blaster, I believe. So the levels are quite low because it's auto level control, right? We'll just rewind this tape back. One other thing you got to do on these decks is this pulley here. They have a tendency to develop a bit of crack on them. And I don't know if this one's got it or not, but we can check this out here. We're just going to pull the pulley off the shaft and check it. Because what happens on these is that this pulley gets a small crack on it. And this one has it. Okay, so what happens, the reason why these things do the jumping, right, when you're going to go into fast forward rewind, besides in addition to slipping, the rubber compound gets slippery. So the rubber renew will deal with that, but what it won't deal with is if there's not enough torque to engage the the drive idler back and forth. What engages the drive idler, if we look at it, if we take it right off here, okay, you'll notice that there's a small spring. It's right on the shaft here, so I don't want to drop it out, but there's a small spring right there. You can see it. What that spring does is that spring pushes this forward. So this sits on the shaft like this, right? And that spring pushes this forward, the idler forward. The idler is bumped up against the little felt pad that's on the back of here. And this is what provides the initial torque to flip this back and forth. You see, as this spins, the little felt pad will flip this one way or the other. What happens is you get a little crack like you've got in this one on this little wheel, and over time, especially when it hits the end of the tape and fast forward or rewind, the motor shaft will continue to spin, and it will the pressure of the spring will push this thing forward, because you've now got a crack in the actual shaft itself, and it can slip forward and release tension on the spring, which will then, of course, cause there not to be enough forward pressure on the idler arm, and you won't have as much torque as far as the having the idler pressing against the take-up or supply spool. So what you got to do is you got to make sure that this is far enough back, because this little idler will actually work its way forward, and it's all caused by that little crack that's developed, because that's why these things get loose in the first place. And then they'll start where these will flutter. You'll go to put them into fast forward or rewind, and they'll stutter, and the tape spools will kind of, well, you'll see it can break the tape. If you're in fast forward or rewind, it can actually damage the tape, because it's driving and then it's going in and out of drive, because this is bouncing back and forth, right? Not enough torque, so the rubber tire here will bounce very quickly, and you hear a type sound. So that's what causes that. So we're going to just try and fix this up. I guess you could put a bit of glue on here, and that would hold it on the shaft, but then you're never getting it off ever. So don't like to do that. I could put a drop of rosin on there, because rosin will harden up and get very sticky. So I could put a drop of rosin on the inner shaft here and place it in place, and that would certainly keep it in place on the shaft and not let it slide forward, but still be free enough that if it ever had to be taken apart, it could. But let's just put this back on here like this. We'll push this back all the way that it needs to go back, as far as it needs to go. And then we'll put this unit back together. See, nice and quiet. That's how it's supposed to work. That's how it's supposed to work. So as long as this is pushed back far enough on the shaft, you won't have any of that fluttering sound. If you're too far back, like this, it's not going to rewind very well. So there's a happy medium where you've got it on the shaft, where it's far enough back that it's going to give you good torque, but if you push it on too far, it's not. There we go. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take some rosin, this stuff. I'm just going to put it on the inner shaft here to let it work its way onto the metal shaft, and that way it should hold that in place. I mean, ultimately, if you could get this piece, you could change it, but again, the chances of finding one are slim to none. That would be the phone. Okay, we'll just rewind this tape. We'll make a recording on here from my MP3 player. We'll set this thing up for good levels, And then we'll play around with how to set this thing up. But go back to source. Where's your source? Source, there we go. We'll set our levels to peak around +3 and no Dolby. Record and play. Go to my tape monitor. We can monitor what's actually being recorded as it comes back. Make sure I have the right type tape selected. This tape's kind of damaged at the beginning, so we'll just let the damaged portion of the tape. This tape got crunched in another machine, as you can see. And there it goes. I can't make a video without somebody starting up a lawnmower. Doesn't matter what day of the week I film. It doesn't matter. Every time I start to shoot, somebody starts a freaking lawnmower up. Every single time. Unbelievable. Every video I shoot, somebody in the direct, immediate vicinity of me fires up a lawnmower as soon as I start to record. Okay. And it's a hot day, so I don't want to close the door. I swear to God, they watch for when I open the door when I start filming and then drag their lawnmower out. Okay. We'll record past the damage section on this tape and see how it sounds. Okay, I gotta close down the door, I guess, so I don't have to hear that. Sounding pretty good. This is the tape monitor, by the way, we're listening to this. So this is actually playback. You guys can't see it because the little cover here for the light, but if I tip it up, you'll see that the little light is on in there. We're listening to tape playback. I have to admit, this is a nice tape deck. Dual capstan, 3-head. I like it. This is a real nice tape deck. Like, this is the type of tape deck that I would have myself. Okay, quiet at last. I can have the door open. Let's rewind this tape. Sounds good. Okay, I'm going to put the unit back together. We'll see if this will go in without having to remove the... Some of these ones you actually have to remove the deck so that you can get some clearance. That's why I took it out initially. Let's see if this will go back in without having to remove the mechanism. Oh, good. Good, this one will fit. Okay, so I don't need to remove the mechanism. I thought I had to remove these. That's why I took the screws out here initially. Well, initially I was going to try and lift the deck out, right? Because some of these decks you can just lift straight out, but this one here, with all this other stuff in behind, it's going to make it difficult to do that. But at least I was able to get this off. Now, some brands of tape deck you actually have to loosen the main chassis off because you have to move it out of the way to get this plate out, but not on this one. Get the front faceplate back on now. the knobs back on. We'll set them all down to 0 so I know where they go. Yeah, that's an electric car that's backing up there. Neighbor's got one too. So I've got 2 and the neighbor's got one. Next door neighbor's got one. They're deadly quiet. We're going to do the bias fine trim on here. There's 2 controls on there, record calibration and bias tone. Record calibration, you set it for 0, and there's an adjustment in here for left and right channels, which is already set because I'm getting 0 on here. Bias tone, to do a recording or to set up the bias on a unit like this, you have your tape in the tape monitor position, go into record and hit your bias tone. And then you're going to adjust the fine trim to get your levels as close to 0 as you can. Make sure we're on the right type of tape first. That's just used for, I'd say if you turn it down, you'll cut your highs. If you turn it up, you'll boost your highs. So ideally we want to try and maximize our levels here. Okay, that's how you set up the calibration on this unit. It's pretty simple, just your bias fine trim. And that's pretty much it. Let's see if we can go back and listen to the recordings I made on this using this deck. Sounding good. Other than the tape's got a bit of crunchiness to it because the tape's been chewed up a few times. I always use these old beat up tapes for testing machines. Okay, that's going to do it for this one. Thanks for watching. Now you know how to service the tape drive on this. Put some rubber renew on the idler tire if it's slipping, and adjust the actual tension on the pulley. So say check that that plastic drive wheel out because they do crack, and when they do, they can slip forward. So you got a couple of options. You can either try melting the plastic or put some glue on there. As I say, I chose to just use some rosin because it gets very sticky. And it's not going to slip. It's not going to allow it, or it shouldn't allow it to slip, because at least it's not a final solution where if you ever have to take that off to change that that idler, you'll be able to do it. Whereas if you glue it on with crazy glue, it's never coming off without breaking it. So I don't like to do that unless it's absolutely necessary. Plus the fact that crazy glue won't adhere properly to nylon anyway, so I think the trick of using some rosin on there will keep it in place for years to come. Anyway, thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next one real soon. Bye for now.